Awakened people move through life with a calm that others cannot easily understand. Their presence feels different, not louder, not more forceful, but quieter in a way that draws attention. They carry a natural ease, as if they are no longer fighting with life, no longer resisting every moment, no longer trying to control every outcome. This calm is not the calm of someone who is avoiding reality. It is the calm of someone who has finally stopped running from themselves. Most people navigate their days caught in an invisible storm of thoughts, fears, judgments, and expectations. Their reactions are shaped by old wounds, by social conditioning, by unconscious habits they never chose but simply inherited. When someone who is still trapped in that state meets a truly awakened person, they notice something unusual. The awakened person does not participate in the same inner chaos. They do not get pulled into drama. They do not react impulsively. They do not respond from fear. Instead, they respond from clarity. This clarity comes from a shift in perception. Before awakening, people look at the world through a thick filter made of beliefs, memories, and opinions. Every experience passes through this filter and becomes distorted. But awakening is the moment that filter starts to dissolve. The awakened person begins to see things as they actually are, not as the mind imagines them to be. They no longer interpret life through the lens of insecurity or ego. They perceive directly without the noise. Because of this, awakened people appear to move with extraordinary confidence, even though they are not trying to be confident at all. Their confidence is simply the absence of confusion. They do not question their worth, because they no longer build their identity on external approval. They do not fear uncertainty, because they understand that uncertainty is the natural state of life. They do not cling to control, because they have realized control was always an illusion. This makes their presence incredibly grounding. You can feel that they are not lost in their minds. They are here, fully present, fully aware. When you speak to them, they truly listen. Without planning a response, without judging, without projecting their insecurities onto you. Their attention is steady and undivided, something rare in a world full of distraction and emotional noise. But this same presence that feels peaceful can also feel intimidating to those who are still unconscious. When someone is used to hiding behind masks, meeting a person who doesn't wear it can be unsettling. When someone is used to reacting from ego, meeting a person who doesn't react at all can be confusing. The awakened person becomes a silent reminder of how noisy the unawakened life truly is. They are like a calm lake reflecting everything clearly. And while this calmness brings comfort to some, it exposes others. It reveals the inner storms they have been trying to avoid. It shows them what they have not yet faced within themselves. This is why awakened people stand out without ever trying to stand out. Their stillness is their strength. Their clarity is their presence. And their presence silently challenges everyone around them to wake up as well. The one ability awakened people have that truly scares others is their capacity to see the truth behind every mask. This is not a supernatural gift, nor is it something they consciously try to do. It is simply a natural result of becoming deeply aware of their own inner world. When a person has confronted their own fears, illusions, and shadows, they become incredibly skilled at recognizing those same patterns in others. They can sense intentions long before words are spoken. They can feel emotional undercurrents, even when someone appears calm on the surface. They can hear what a person truly means, even when the person's mouth is saying something completely different. To the awakened person, communication is not limited to language. They pay attention to tone, energy, body posture, eye movement, and the subtle vibrations behind every action. They are sensitive, not in a fragile way, but in a perceptive way. When someone tells a lie, no matter how small, the awakened person can feel the dissonance immediately. When someone pretends to be confident but is actually insecure, they see the tension in their body and the hesitation between their words. When someone tries to manipulate them emotionally, they sense the pull and gently step out of reach. This ability scares others, because most people rely heavily on their masks. Throughout life, people learn to hide their vulnerability, their pain, their jealousy, their fear of being judged, and their desperate need for validation. They learn to say things they do not mean and hide things they do not want to face. They practice smiling when they are breaking inside and acting strong when they feel weak. To them, the mask becomes a form of survival. But awakened people make masks useless. The awakened person's awareness pierces through pretenses without trying to. They aren't reading minds, they are reading patterns. They aren't judging, only observing. They aren't exposing anyone. They simply don't get caught in illusions anymore because they have spent time exploring the hidden corners of their own psyche. Nothing in the human mind surprises them. They recognize the games because they used to play those games themselves. They recognize the wounds because they have healed their own. They recognize dishonesty because they have learned to be painfully honest with themselves. This level of perception can be deeply unsettling. A person who is hiding something feels seen in a way they are not prepared for. A person who relies on manipulative tactics, guilt, shame, emotional pressure, realizes these methods simply fail around an awakened mind. A person who tries to impress others with status or appearance finds that the awakened person is not impressed by anything external. The awakening strips away the layers of illusion, and when someone who is still attached to their illusions encounters this clarity, they feel exposed, not judged, just witnessed. And that alone is enough to create discomfort. At the same time, awakened people do not call out these masks harshly. They hold space with compassion. They understand that every mask was created for protection at some point, but their presence still shines a light, and light naturally reveals what darkness tries to hide. This is why awakened people seem intimidating without doing anything intimidating. It is not their strength that scares others. It is their ability to see. Their vision makes deception impossible, manipulation ineffective, and pretense unnecessary. And for someone who has built their life on those things, being seen clearly can feel like the most frightening experience of all. This ability to see the truth can be deeply uncomfortable for people who are still living unconsciously. Many individuals move through the world with layers of psychological armor built from childhood, heartbreak, trauma, or social conditioning. They rely on certain behaviors, anger, manipulation, defensiveness, overconfidence, or emotional withdrawal to protect themselves from feeling vulnerable. These patterns become so automatic that most people don't even realize they are using them. But when they encounter someone who is awakened, these defenses suddenly stop working. For example, someone who uses anger to dominate conversations quickly notices that an awakened person does not react with fear or apology. The awakened person remains calm, grounded, and unshaken. This lack of emotional reaction confuses the person who is used to controlling situations through intensity. They realize subconsciously that they have no power over someone who is not controlled by their own emotions. The same happens with people who rely on guilt tactics. Phrases like, "If you cared about me, you would," or "you always make me feel this way." These emotional hooks usually pull others into guilt, shame, or obligation. But when used on an awakened person, they simply fall flat. The awakened individual can see the underlying insecurity, the unmet need, the emotional manipulation, and they respond with clarity rather than compliance. This makes the manipulative person feel exposed, as if their script has suddenly stopped working. Even passive behavior patterns begin to crumble. A person who hides behind silence or avoidance will find that the awakened person does not chase, force, or beg. They recognize withdrawal as a protective habit, not a meaningful action, and they do not get entangled in it. This can be unsettling for someone who uses avoidance as a way to control connection. What truly makes people uncomfortable is not that the awakened person sees through them. It's that the awakened person's clarity forces them to see through themselves. The awakened mind becomes a mirror that reflects back everything the other person is running from. Their insecurities, their unresolved wounds, their hidden motives, their unacknowledged fears. Being around such a person feels like standing in a room with no shadows. Most people are not used to this level of transparency. They are accustomed to environments where everyone participates in the same unconscious patterns, reacting emotionally, taking things personally, hiding intentions, and avoiding uncomfortable truths. But awakened people do not play those games. They do not match chaos with chaos or ego with ego. Their presence alone interrupts the patterns. This interruption is what scares others. It forces them to confront parts of themselves they would rather ignore. It shows them that their usual behaviors, manipulation, defensiveness, emotional games, are not expressions of strength, but symptoms of fear. For the first time, they realize these strategies don't work on someone who is awake. Yet it is important to understand, awakened people do not judge those who react this way. They see fear where others see aggression. They see insecurity where others see arrogance. They see pain where others see power. And while their clarity may unsettle others at first, it also holds the potential to inspire transformation. Because in the presence of someone who cannot be manipulated, deceived, or emotionally controlled, others are quietly invited to step out of their patterns and awaken to their own truth. What truly intimidates others is not the awakened person's strength, intelligence, or confidence, it is their transparency. Awakened individuals live without hidden agendas, without emotional manipulation, without the subtle games that many people play to feel more secure or in control. They do not pretend to be someone they are not, and they do not depend on approval to validate their identity. This level of openness is deeply unsettling for those who rely on masks to navigate the world. Most people are knowingly controlled by their fears: fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of losing control, fear of not being enough. To protect themselves, they build personas, versions of themselves they present to the world to feel safe. But awakened people have dismantled these layers. They have confronted their own fears so deeply that they no longer need to hide. Their authenticity is effortless, and it radiates through everything they do. When others encounter this purity, they often feel their own masks begin to crack. The awakened person cannot be controlled because they no longer operate from fear or insecurity. If someone tries to manipulate them, they see it instantly, not with anger, but with clarity. If someone tries to provoke them, their emotional stability cannot be shaken. If someone attempts to dominate them, they respond with awareness instead of defensiveness. This makes them unpredictable to people who rely on predictable reactions to maintain power. A person who expects guilt to work is shocked when it doesn't. Someone who uses emotional games finds their strategies collapsing. Someone who expects the awakened person to fall into old patterns is surprised when they simply do not. The awakened person's lack of reaction exposes the emptiness of those tactics. This exposure creates discomfort because it reveals just how much of a person's behavior is driven by unconscious fear. Even the awakened person's silence can be intimidating. When they choose not to participate in gossip, conflict, or negativity, it becomes obvious how much noise others create to distract themselves from their own minds. When the awakened person listens deeply, instead of speaking impulsively, it becomes clear how rarely people truly hear each other. Their presence alone becomes a mirror that reflects the truth of others' lives back at them. And truth, for many, is frightening. The transparency of an awakened mind reveals that the stories people cling to, stories about who they are, what they are worth, or why they suffer, are not real. It shows that most conflict is self-created, most pain is prolonged by resistance, and most suffering comes from misunderstanding oneself. This realization can feel like a threat to those who have built their identity on illusions. But the awakened person does not expose others to shame them. They simply exist in a state of honesty that encourages honesty in return. Their clarity invites others to reflect. Their presence encourages growth, and their awareness awakens awareness in those around them. They do not force transformation, they allow it. In truth, what scares people is not the awakened person. It is the possibility of waking up themselves. Awakening requires facing fears, dropping pretenses, and letting go of the stories that have defined one's identity. It demands honesty, vulnerability, and courage, qualities many avoid because they reveal how much healing is still needed. Yet the awakened person silently shows that this path, though challenging, leads to freedom. They embody a way of being that is peaceful, powerful, and unshakable. And while this can intimidate those who are not ready, it also plants a seed, the seed of awakening in those who feel the call to break free from their own illusions.